Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Bava Metzia, Daf Kuf Yud. We're going to begin on Kuf Yud Amud Aleph by the 2 dots, 4 lines from the top. So, Ha'ushtara, we're going to be learning about this case where there's a document in which Rashi says this is the Shtar Mashkanta D'Tsura, B'mishlam Shnaya Elaine. So, we know that when it comes to a mashkanta d'tzur, it's a special arrangement where the creditor eats the produce of the debtor, and he eats his from his field for several years as payment for debt. Now, in this case, Rashi says, "V'lo minyan hashanim." The document doesn't say how many years that this creditor is allowed to eat the produce. So the Haviksiv Beishnin Stama. It just says years, it doesn't say how many. So Malva, the lender, Omer Sholosh, because obviously he wants to eat for more years. And the Lova, the owner of the field, who's the borrower, Omer Shtayim. So what do? So Kadim Malva V'achlinhu Leperi Minahemen. Let's say we are year number 3, and the Malva already ate from this field. So now the question is, do we say that what he did was fine, or do we say no, he had no right to eat it, and therefore he has to reimburse the lova? So we have a machlokes. The land is in the possession of the lova; it's his land, and therefore this malva had no right to eat it in the 3rd year, and therefore for that reason, Rashi says, b'cheskas Mari Ushlu Kedin Achlin Huleperi. He was not supposed to eat those fruits. Therefore, he'd have to reimburse him. Rav Kahana repairs Becheskas Oichlehen Kaimi. It's in the chazak of the person who's eating it, because this guy's already eaten it year 1 and year 2, so we're going to allow him to continue to say that he ate okay in the 3rd year. It says Rashi Kivan de Kadam Vachlinhu, he already ate it, Yasla Fukimine, and what are we trying to do? It already took place, so now we want to take money from him. So in that situation, Nesirai the love Sholoshavi. So now it's up to the Lova to have to prove that it was not 3 years. The basar chilas peres azlinan. We're going to bust the person who already ate the fruits. We don't want to take away from this malva. So therefore, the fact that he already ate, we're not going to take his money away. Okay. The Hilchasan, the halacha is the Rav Kahana. The halacha is like the second opinion. Which again means that we're not going to take this away from the malva. He ate from the 3rd year, and that's it. So the halacha is like Rav Nachman. The Omer, he said, Rav Nachman says that we go bust to the karka, which means we should go bust to the loiva, which means the malva should reimburse it. So Hassam, he said no. Even though it's true that Rav Nachman has said this statement before, look at Rashi. Gabi Seicher Merchatz mi Shneim Aser Zehuvim Lashana Mediner Zahav L'Chaydesh. So we saw, let's say a case where a person rents out a bathhouse for 12 Zehuvim for a year. So therefore it makes sense that it should be a dinner Zahav for each month. So as we saw previously in Perka Shoyel, the Afilba B'Seif HaChaydish, when it comes at the end of the month, Amr Kul Haskir Kishi Nisabra Hashana. So the question is, what happens if it's a 13th month? Because if it's a 13th month, are you paying for the year? So therefore a 13th month is still 1 year, and therefore you just benefit from that 13th year? Or do we say that, no, you have to pay for that 13th month? So this is a question by a year which has 13 months. We go after the owner of the merchatz. So too here we should go boss of the karka. So Hassam, he said, when it comes to that case over there, it's not a matter that will ever be resolved. Says Rashi, again, the question is, it says Shana, it says Chaydish, so which do we go busser? Do we go busser the first language or the second? We'll never resolve it. And therefore we say we go busser the owner of the merchatz. Here it's something which is shaykh that the malva eventually could end up proving his claim. And therefore, imagine we took away his money, let's say, because we go bust to the cart, let's say. So that means the malva who already ate it has to now give back this money, and let's all of a sudden he's going to prove it again. To be matriach based in 2 times, they're not going to be matriach, because what ended up happening, because the Malva already ate it, so we're going to say, oh, the Malva, you have to pay it back. Then all of a sudden the Malva proves that he was right, and then the Malva gets it back again. So Beis Din's not going to end up doing such a thing. So therefore we say, you know what? He ate it, and that's it. Because it's possible that it could go back and forth 2 times, and it's almost like Zelusa the Beis Din, that doesn't look good. So therefore in that situation we say that we're going to just, the Malva ate it, and that's it. Weiter. Malva oimish chamesh loiva oimish shalish. So let's say we have a situation where the Malva says 5, and this is a totally different matter. That you have a lender and a borrower, they come to court. The Malva says that it was rented. It's for 5 years. I'm supposed to have. However, there is no star here. The Lova says it was 3. And he already finished his 3 years, and that's it. So again, so the borrower says, bring me your proof of the star. It got lost. So what's the din? So Rabbi Yehuda, do we say it was already the 3 years are gone? Or do we say it should actually be entitled to 2 more years? So Malva Nema. So actually the lender who said 5 is going to be believed that he can continue and stay there 2 more years. Because he actually would have been able to say, because he was already there 3 years, he could have said that it's mine, because he has a chazaka. We're going to learn the cheskos about them shortly. The fact that when it comes to a chazaka, after 3 years, you can say, I lost my star, and then now you're the owner of the field. So he could have actually claimed that he owns the field, and we would actually let him keep the field forever. So therefore, we're going to let him stay there, get the next 2 years. Amar Papalo Rav Ashi, Rav Zvid Rav Aviru Lusvirlahu Hada Rav Yehuda. They actually do not hold of this shita of Rabbi Yehuda. They don't believe that this is considered to be a migu. You can't say this as a migu. My taima. Hai shtara, the star that got lost. Kivan the whole purpose of it to collect, mizer zarbe. Person should be careful not to have lost it. Umichvash who maybe he's dichvashi l'shtari. Maybe the truth is he has the star, but he's just in the wilderness for 3 years, and he's concealing it. Savar oichla tartin shnin yeterata, and maybe he's going to try to claim these 2 additional years. So you can't just say like a normal case of a chazak over here, because this is not a normal circumstance. Says Rashi, Vaishtara lo damlu shtar zvini. It's not like a star of sale. Dilu shtar zvini l'edis shemachroloi huba v'chi ad oilam kaimer lo hizahirbo. So for him to have to be careful forever. Amrabban be'atlashnin matzil izdaru inish b'shtari. When it comes to a sale, a person generally will hold on to a star for 3 years. Not more than 3 years. The fact that 3 years went and no one said anything, and I own the land because I bought it, so now if I don't hold on to the star, everyone knows it's mine. This guy is saying that's not his. He's saying it's a star mashkanta, that I'm only here to be able to eat the fruits for a limited amount of time because it's not my field. So Lurias minyan shanim shel achilas peres ugavaina the achilas peres the minyan hashanim koi. So in this situation, it's more logical that the Malva should not have lost the star. He should have held on to it in order to be able to claim, because everyone knows it's a star mashkat. The question is, how long was he able to eat from it? So therefore, it's clear he probably didn't lose the star, and now he's just trying to trick us to get more years. It says Rashim is daher zahir be deloy lirchasle ad klum hashanim. He's not going to lose it until his years are done. V'hadi kamer irchas lo mehimin. We're not going to believe that it was lost, because perhaps the michmashu dechav shevachul, as we said, maybe he's just he's concealing the star. If that's what you want to say, that's svara. So hai mashkanta the surah. When it comes to, again, the case of mashkanta the surah, as we said, the arrangement where the creditor eats the produce of the debtor's field for several years as payment for debt. The kasvei hachi, it's written the following: the mishlam shnayilin, that will complete these amount of years. Tepik arada b'loy kasef. then the land will go back to the Lova without kesef, because that's exactly what's happening. The Malva is eating these fruits in order to be able to offset the loss, the loan. So Heicha, the Kavshi Lishtar Mashkanta, in the situation where he's hiding the star, he says it was bought, I bought it, he'd be believed. So this is a question according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that you would have a migu in this case. So in that case as well. Understand, why would the Rabbanan institute something in which there could potentially cause a loss? So he says over there, the Rabbanan Masakin this to the owner of the land to give taxes and to dig ditches. Says Rashi, Hachinami demihimin v'chi avid rabban milsa diasi b'leidei ramois kihai. So taking Rabbi Lamari already yav taskel malka, that the Rabbanan said that he pays taxes. The karikal masakin hachritz savivos agvulin, in order to be able to fix the ditches. The leis lakaria without digging ditches v'yav taska mai shamlei iboyli lemichui. He should have protested. Loim chamai, if he didn't protest, Ihu diavsid namshe, we say that he's the one who lost himself. He caused his own loss. Next case. Oris oimer lemechsa yaradati. Ubal bayis oimer l'shlish yaradati. So as we said, when it comes to kablonus, so there's different amounts that are agreed on. That he gets a half, he gets a third, he gets a fourth. The sharecropper obviously wants more, so he's going to claim that he's getting half. The Baal Bayis says no, it's only a third. So me Neheman, who are going to believe? The Baal Bayis of the Oris. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Baal Bayis Neman. Rabbi Nachum Nemer Hakol K'mineg Medina. So according to the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, we had Taka say it's the Baal Bayis that's going to be believed. Otherwise, we say no, it's all totally Mineg Medina. So Sabarmina, we originally thought Lo Pligi. Maybe there's not an argument. Habasu de Shakal Risa Palga. Habasu de Shakal Risa Tilta. It depends if the custom is to get half or a third. So in a place where the custom is to get a third, so then we're going to listen to the Baal Bayis, because the Baal Bayis says it was a third. However, in a situation where it's a custom for him to get a half, so we say so it's really not a machlokas. So Amalhu Rab Mari Bara to Mashmul Hachi Amarbaya feel Ba'asa de Shakal Arisa Palga Pligi. No. Even in a situation where the sharecropper's custom is to get half, they still argue and say that we may still listen to the Baal Bayis who says he only gets a third. Why? If the minhag hamakoyim is to give a half, so that should be given. Why would you think that you should give a third? So Rabbi Yehuda Omer Baal Bayis Neman, why would he be believed to give a third? Because the boy Omer Scheri V'Kitihu. The Baal Bayis could claim that he's not really an oris. He's really just someone who's entitled to hourly wages, and therefore, because he has a migu in his believed. Rashi says, even though he has a migu, he has a migu. Okay. Good. All right, let's look at question 13. Arasarmula Metzia. Bava Sarmula Shlish Haradati. Madin Umatam. So one Madir is it's not a machlokas. And it's Hakol K'minag Medina. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Baal Bayis Neman Afil Shalol K'minag Migdi Boy Omer Schirba Kitihu. Okay. All right. Which I think is the same question as question TB7. Aris Omer Lomechsa Yeradati Ubal Bayis Omer Shush Yeradati Madin Matam. So Chad Madir Hakol K'minag Medina. Oh, Afilu Sheesh Minhag, what I write? Rishona Mikol Makam Habal Bayis Neman Sheesh Lumigu Shehu Yachol Litain Lakita Sachiro. I hired you as hired workers. Okay, so that's TB7, which is the same question as question 6. TB7. Okay. All right. 2 dots. Yisayimim Oimrim Anu Hishbachnu. So the Yisayimim say that it increased in value under our watch. Ubal Bayis Omer Avichem Hishbich. Actually, it only improved in the hands of your father. Says Rashi, Anu hishbichanu. The Yisaimim say it was us. Therefore, ve'en lo ba'al bayis b'ma shishbichu Yisaimim klum. So the din is that if the Yisaimim are the ones that did the improvements, so the Baal Chayiv is not entitled to that improvements. He would be entitled to the Baal Chayiv if the improvements were made in the father's lifetime, because he's just a regular lova, and therefore any improvements would be meshubed to the malva. However, if he already had died and then the children made the improvements, then it is it's different. Okay, so who has to prove? The Yisaimim, that they're the ones that made the improvements, or the Baal Chayiv that in fact it was their father that made the improvements? So that is the Gemara's question. Baal Chayiv avichem hishpiach al mi l'havi raya. So we continue to Kuf Yud Amud Beis. So Sava Rabbi Chanina Lameimar, he thought that Ar B'cheskes Yasmi Kaimo, that where's the land? The land is now in the children's hands, the assignment, and therefore they're claiming that they're the ones that made the improvements. Therefore, Baal Chayiv will have Uriah. It would be upon the Baal Chayiv to prove otherwise, that the improvements were made by their father. So Mahu Saba Hachim Rabbi Yochanan. No, it's not true. We're not going to just assume that it goes into the hands. It's all B'chesas Yasmi, because Rabbi Yochanan says Al Yisaimim L'Habi Raya. It's Taka the Yisaimim that have to prove that they're the ones that did the improvements. My time. Oh, why do we put this on the Yisaimim? Because Aro, when it comes to this land, Kivan Duligvaina Kaima, since its purpose was in order for it to be collected, the Malva was owed money, so therefore this land, there's a shibud, there's a lien on it. So commanded gavia dami, it's considered like it's collected. And therefore it's upon the Yisaimim. Since the land is slated to be collected, so therefore it's upon the Yisaimim to have to prove. Okay. Rabbi afananami tinina. We actually have a raya to support this, that's upon the Yisaimim. Suffik zekadam, the suffix zekadam, kaitzetz ve'ein noisin damim. So what is this referring to? So Rashi reminds us of a Gemara we'll see later on in Bava Basra. Be'ilan hanatua b'toich chamishim shana v'chamishim ama samuch ha'ir. So you have this tree that is growing within 50 amos near the city. V'katani hasam ima ir kadma kaitzetz. It all depends what came first, the chicken or the egg. Well, not in that case. It's if the city was before the tree, then kaitzetz. Then you chop down the tree, very nice and dumb, and you don't pay for it. That's the din. Suffix zekodim, suffix zekodim. What came first, the tree or the city? So are you allowed to cut off the tree? And if you do you owe compensation? So kaitzetz, we chop down the tree. Ve'enu nice and dumb, we don't pay anything. Alma kivan de ben hachi vein hachi. Regardless, lemixas koi, you're going to chop down the tree regardless. The question is, are you paying? So the chi kadem ilan nami katani kaitzetz, because even if the tree was there before the city, we can still cut down the tree. Kimasavkawan amrinan kaitz mamadashach. No matter what, in this suffix, we're still going to cut down the tree. Sharialechel lasais nimsa hasavik mutal al damim. The suffix isn't cutting down the tree. The tree is going to be cut down regardless of what came first. The question is, for paying for the tree, there's no question about the tree. If you have a tree that's growing near an individual's pit, so when it comes to a bor yechidi, it's possible the tree will not be cut down. Tanan gami suffix zeh kadam suffix zeh kadam lo yakots. So in that case, because it's a possibility, one scenario is that you may not end up chopping down the tree. So in the case of a suffix, you would not cut down the tree. Al magami suffix ilan deir tamim mishum de memanav shachaim lekatzitza. When it comes to a city as opposed to a bor yechidi, Rashi explains that you definitely have to cut down the tree. So what does that have to do with our case? By the assignment. The Yisayimim are claiming they made the improvements. But the reality is that this land is something that is supposed to go to the Malva regardless. Bein Yisayimim Hishpichu, Bein Avim Hishpiach, Dinu Litul Karka Im Hashvach. The din is that he can take the land with the improvements. V'ima Yisayimim Hishpichu, it's just that if the Yisayimim made the improvements, Mal Lehen Hashvach B'damim Kuno Kamei, that he'll have to pay the Yisayimim. But he's entitled to get it. The whole question is, does he have to pay the Yisayimim? Hilchach Gabi Aro, when it comes to land with Shvach, Memanav Nimsa Yisayimim Taivin L'Haitz Mimenu, V'alein Haraya. No matter what, the Yisayimim are going to have to be the ones that they can. The guy's going to take the land, he's going to take the Shvach. Now, it's up to the Yisayimim to have to prove that they made the improvements. So that means that it's not in their hands. It's really in the hands of the Baal Chayv. And because of that, Marinan says the Gemara, Ushkoil, go and bring a proof. Since this star has the land, which is slated to be collected together with the Shvach, and therefore he will collect it, the whole question is, will the Yisayim get the money back? Okay, question 14. Question 14. Yisayimim armim anu hishvachnu. Bal chayv amar avichem hishpiach. Mahadin. Umeheichen hebi Rabbi Yochanan siyatol devar. So that's obviously it's a machlokis, but according to what we just said, is upon the Yisayimim to bring a raya, because mamanav shach, it's going to be collected regardless. And we learned this out by a tree that was planted within 50 amos of a city. We don't know what came first, the tree or the city, but either way, we're going to be cutting down that tree. So therefore, because of that, the whole question is, what's the status of the money? So it's over here, where he's definitely going to collect it. The question is, will the Yisayimim get it back? So therefore, the Yisayimim have to prove. Back in the Gemara. Okay, so let's say Aisu Yasmi Raya the Inhu Ashbahu. Let's say, in fact, the Yisayimim do prove that they're the ones that made the improvements, which apparently would mean that they should be able to get the money. So Sabram Chanina L'Meimar, so he was thinking that Kim Misaklinan Lahu, that when they divide everything up, if you will, Ba'ara Misaklinan Lahu, the Yisayimim will be able to get land which is equal to the improvements. They're not going to get money, but be able to get the land. V'lo, it's not true. B'dimei Misaklinan Lahu. Actually, the Yisayimim will be able to get the money, because as we said, it's like the land is being taken by the Baal Chayv with the Shvach, and the question is, do the Yisayimim, if the Yisayimim are the ones that made the improvements, so they'll get the money, but they're not going to get the land keneged that improvement. There's three cases, which we're going to see now, in which we evaluate the improvements. However, we don't give land when we make these calculations. We give money, which is exactly what we said before. Ve'elohein, b'chor u'pashit. So let's go slow. B'chor to a pashit, says Rashi. B'chor pashit shishbichu karka koidim shechilko. So you have a firstborn child who usually gets double portion, and then you have a pashit, the second child, and there was improvements that were made before it was divided. As the Gemara somewhat toward the end of Bava Basra says, quoting Rashi, if there was any improvements after the father had died, before it was divided, so we're not going to give the Bechor double of that. He'll get the regular amount of those improvements. The Havli Roy, the Eina Bechor Noitel HaBechor Baroy. He doesn't get Roy because the Chsib Bechol Asher Yamatze Loy Shem Boy Lachlu Noitel Bechor Pishnai Bekarka Shem Shubachas V'Shomanas HaShvach. So they will evaluate the Shvach over here. But notice in Lo Pashid Ravia Shumagil Lo Shvach Shehu Chelka Sholzeh. So basically, in this case, the amount that's given up is calculated with money. Okay. The second case, Ubal Chayv Uksubas Isha Yisayimim. So the key is a Baal Chayv to Yisayimim, as we just said, that if the Baal Chayv takes the land together with the Shvach, to the Baal Chayiv, if the Yasam proves that the improvements were done in his Rishos, in their Rishos, so then he will have to pay back, but only with Damim, as we already said. And that's also by Ksuvas Isha. Ubal Chayiv Ulukuchais. Also, when it comes to a Baal Chayiv, when it comes to taking from Lukuchos, it's the same idea, is that if there's some question and maybe the Baal Chayiv has to reimburse, the Lukuchos don't keep that amount of land, but rather he pays in money. Are you coming to tell me the Sefer Shmuel Baal Chayiv Lukuchos? Is it true that the loikech will get the improvements? According to Shmuel, he says that the Baal Chayiv collects the shvach. He didn't need to give shvach at all. Forget the damim, he doesn't have to give anything. So v'chiteimu lokasha kan b'shvach hamagil ksafim l'ksefayim l'ksafim kan b'shvach she'en magil ksafim, that it depends of, we're dealing with land which is literally reaching the shoulders, namely srichin l'karka davar mu'at, it only needs the land a little bit. So if it's she'en magil ksafim, so it really needs the land, so then it has the din of karka. So maybe the whole difference of shvach, whether or not it's connected, that you give back the karka, you don't give or you give damim, or you don't give it all, is totally on whether or not the shvach is dependent on the land. It's not true that he collects even if it's shvach hamagil ksafim, namely something in which is detached really from the ground, that doesn't need it anymore. Lokasha. Ha damasik be kishir ara ushvacha, ha damasik be shir ara ushvacha. Here, the debt is only equal to land, but the shvach is more, so you need to give back as damim. However, if let's say the amount is the amount of the debt is not more, the shvach is equal to the debt, so then you're not going to be able to, you don't give anything back. The chilul masik shir aru shvacha, as we said, that in the situation where the debt is only equal to the land, but the shvach is more, then you'll have to give back damim. So I can understand the one who says if there's monies to the loikeach that you can't go to the Baal Chayiv and he cannot go and take the land, shopper. Now that even if the money is found by the loikeach, the matzim salak leil Baal Chayiv, he can still take the land. The name, why don't we say? Why does he say? If you had money, makular, you'd be able to take the whole land. You don't have land, you don't have money. Give me a piece of land. Don't give me the shvach. So how come I asking? So this is a distinction when you made it as an opotiki, which is an actual collection, and that's where you would maybe get the land. However, if there's it's not as an apotiki, so then the din would be different. TA 6, which I got completely wrong, and I can understand why. Let's see. Ha'im Baal Chayiv goyves a shvach bekarka, can he collect from land she'enu apotiki? So if it is apotiki, he collects the land. However, let's say it's not an opotiki. So, one who says he doesn't pay with money, he could collect. If he could pay with money, then he would say, give me the amount of land which is equivalent to the shvach. Let's see the next Mishnah. So you only say for shvu echad, which seems like a general statement of the entire Shemitah cycle, the whole 7 years. So says the Mishnah, b'shva me'ais zuz, and you're going to do it for 700 zuz. Hashvias min aminyan, shvias counts. So therefore, even though on Shemitah you don't work at all, but the language of L'Shvu Echad sounds like you're just saying that it's for 7 years, including Shemitah, and therefore that's it. It's not like 7 years of work. However, Kibul Himenu Sheva Shanim B'Sheva Me'azuz, if you said Sheva Shanim, which sounds like you're going to work for 7 years, then in a Shvius Miniminian, then Shvius doesn't count, which means you get an 8th year. Sachir Yoim. So now we're going to talk about payments. A Sachir Yoim, someone who worked for you during the day, you have an obligation, a Torah obligation to pay him back. He worked all day, so you have the entire night to pay him. And a Schar Laila Gavakol Yoim, if someone worked for you all night, you just finished right at the end of the night, so you have to pay him up sometime during that day. Sachir Shois, let's say you have someone who's working for you, and Rashi quotes some psukim over here. L'sabel of Hashemesh, Mishum Deloy Solon Pulos Sachir Itchad Boiker. Okay. So what if you're Sachir Shois? So you're working for hours. So in that case, as a Sachir Shois, Goy V'Kol Halayla V'Chol Hayoyim. So in that case, you have the whole night and the whole day to pay them back. We'll see why. Sachir Shabbos, Sachir Chaydish, Sachir Shana, Sachir Shua. Let's say you're someone who is a Sachir Shabbos, means you're working for the week, or for the month, or Sachir Shana for a year. Sachir Shavua, Rashi says, for the whole Shemitah. You're working for 7 years. Yatza, when the job finishes, Bayoim, let's say it finishes that day, Gavakol Hayoim. So you have that whole day to collect. Yatza B'Layla, if you finished your job at night, Gavakol Halayla. B'chol Hayoim. You have that night and then the next day. Okay, the Gemara is going to explain, says Rashi, why is it that if, let's say you were getting working for a year, and then you finished at night, that you have the next night, you have the whole night and day. Says Rashi, fun, Demashcha Pulasai Mishatechshach, since you basically continued working until the night, Havli Schir Laila. Then you're considered like a Schir Laila, Vena Oiverla Babiker Ad Macharas B'Shkia Sachama. You have the whole day until Shkia Sachama to pay. Tanur Rabbanan. Says the Gemara, Menayin Lo Schir Yoim, how do you know someone's being paid for the hour, for the day rather? Shigoy V'Kol Laila, they have the whole night, that next night to pay him. Talmud Loim Solon Pulas Schir Ad Idchad Biker. Menayin Lo Schir Laila Shigoy V'Kol Yoim. How do someone work for you at night? You have to pay them back the next day. Shenemar b'yomatitin schar v'ema ibcha. So maybe it's the other way around. In other words, maybe if you finish working during the day, you have to pay them mamish that day, right? Why would you have that night? So your answer is like this. The reason is because the only time you have to actually, the payment only begins once he completed all of his work. So therefore, if you worked all day and you finished mamish to the last second of the day, so then it's not mustaber to say that you're going to be over. You'll be over immediately unless you pay the kaharif ayin. So therefore, it makes sense because of schiras ein mishlemes al b'soif. So therefore, it must be that you have the next night. Tanoban memash mishneh meluson pulos sachir idcha. Since it already says you're not supposed to delay your workers' wages, in yodei shad boiker. Obviously it means you shouldn't continue all until the next morning. So biker. So el ad biker rishoin bovad. You're only going to be over on the first, only on the first night. Mekan be'elach mai. So how about after that, the next day, and the guy's not paying? He's 3 days late, 5 days late. So he's not over for not paying then. So Marav over mishum bal tasha. The Isser of Loisolin is dafka on that one day. However, there's a separate Isser of Baltasha of not delaying, which continues. Amr Yosef Mikra. So what is this pasuk? So Al Taimer Loyacha Leich Vashuv V'Machar Eten V'Yeshitoch. So this is the pasuk, says Rashi, which is a remez of Baltasha, because it doesn't really say Baltasha. It's this notion of this pasuk that is alluding to this din, that if a person shouldn't say to your friend, go and return, and tomorrow I will etin v'yesh itoch, and it actually is by you. In other words, so if you have the ability to pay him, don't delay in payment. Let's say you have a person that says to someone, hire for me workers. So I'm not the one I need for them to work for me, but I'm not the one actually hiring them. And basically the point is shliach. So if someone else gets my workers and I don't pay them, so neither of us are over mishum bal talon. Why? This guy didn't actually do the hiring because he asked someone else to do the hiring. As we continue, Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, Zelavi She'ein Pulasoi Etzloi, and the other guy didn't work for him. Right? He's the shliach, but he didn't work for him. So Hechidam, what's this case? So if the guy said that the reward is the payment's going to be on me, so it's on him. Who? Do you hire a worker, the hero b'shel chavera, and he ends up appearing for someone else? Nice and sachar mishalim, you pay him full. The chayz v'noitim b'bal bayis mashin ahenu aisai. So sricha di armahu sacharchem al bal habayis. And we're gonna. We'll keep going. That what happened? That he said sacharchem al bal bayis. So in that case, you're not going to be over because the shliach said that the Baal Bayis is going to pay you, and he didn't actually make any commitments to have to pay him. Okay. Yehuda bar Mereimar or Malelu Shalmi, he would say to his servant Zil Agruli Poalim, go and hire me workers. Ve'emlahu sacharchem al Baal Habayis. So basically, he would do this in order to not potentially be over the Isser of Baal Talon. Mereimar Marzutra Agril Hadadi. They also do an interesting shtick. They would hire for each other. So Mereimar would hire for Marzutra. Marzutra would hire for Mereimar. So another way of avoiding the potential of this Isser. Amarabba Bar Rav Huna Hani Shukoi Detsura. Says Rashi, these Bali Batim Shel Tsura, these people Shein Megin Lamois Ad Yom Ashuk, that they don't end up having any money until the marketplace. So the problem is, if let's say you work for someone, but they're not able to pay them because they don't have money, because let's say you're harvesting for me, but now I need to wait until the day of the marketplace to sell those produce, those fruits and vegetables. So the question is, am I going to be over about this Isser of not paying my workers that next day? I don't have the money. So he says, Loi Avri Mishum Bal Sol, and you're not over, because Mediyade, it's understood, Del Yom de Shuka Smiche. They understand that it's the day of the Shuk is when you're going to end up getting paid. So therefore, that's the time you're going to be paid. However, when Mishum Bal Tasha Vadi Oiver, the truth is, there still is an Isser of Bal Tasha, but you would not be over Bal Tolan. Okay, let's look at TA 7, and then we'll stop. Ha'imul chaver, save a sachali pualim. Go and hire me workers. Ha'yim yesh iser bal solin chiyai gavna. So, as we said, if you said scharchem al bal bayis shnei min oivrim, because it's the reward that the bal bayis is paying you, so the bal bayis didn't hire, and the shliach isn't the one who's working for him. However, if the shliach said the schar is on me, then in that situation, the shliach will be over this avera. Ad kan.